Lesson 1, Simplifying Fractions. So the objective today is to simplify fraction into lowest terms. You may see this asked in several ways. Simplify these fractions, put these fractions in lowest terms, or put these fractions in simplest form. They all mean the same thing. All right, so simplified fractions are equal fractions. So picture elementary school when you spoke about fractions. If you have 2/4, that's the same as saying 1/2. So we can say that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. And let's see what this looks like. If I have a hole with 4 pieces, and I'm going to shade in 2, and then I have another hole with 2 pieces, and I shade in 1, here you can see that the pieces are the same, so they're equal fractions. All right, so let's think about it. How did we get from 2/4 to 1/2? Well, I know that they're both even, so I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we get 1/2. As long as you divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, you will get an equivalent fraction that's in simplest form. When we look at 4/6, I can also divide by 2, and we'll get 2/3. So 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. Let's shade these pieces in so we can prove it. And you can see that these pieces are the same size, so they're equivalent. All right, some of you may already know how to do this from elementary school, but if you had a hard time with it or you get stuck on some of the harder ones, I'm going to show you some little tricks you can use. So if you don't know what to do when you get a fraction, there's a couple things you can test. First of all, if both numbers, numerator and denominator, end in an even number, so 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, you can divide by 2. So let's divide both numerator and denominator by 2, and we get 4/5. So 8/10 is equal to 4/5. This is in simplest form because there's no other common factors between 4 and 5. All right, when we look at this example, we know 30 is even, but 45 is not. So that means we can't divide by 2. However, if the numbers end in a 0 or a 5, we can divide by 5. So let's divide by 5. 30 divided by 5 is 6, and 45 divided by 5 is 9. So we get 6/9. Good. Well, now, when I'm looking at this, I don't think it's in simplest form. Actually, I know it's not in simplest form because I know that I can divide both of these numbers by 3. So let me divide again. Sometimes it might take you more than one step. And we get 2/3. So 30/45 is equivalent to 2/3. This is simplest form. All right, here, if a numerator and denominator end in a 0, we can divide by 10. So if they both end in a 0, we can divide by 10. And we end up with 5/9. And a shortcut here is we can chop off the zeros on the end. So we get 5/9. Another quick example of that, if it was 50/900, I can divide by 10 also. Anytime you're dividing by 10, you're taking away a 0. So if I divide this by 10, I get 5. And if I divide this by 10, I get 90. And then I see here 50/90, I can divide by 5 because one ends in a 5 and one ends in a 0. And we get 1. Here you may need to do some long division. I'll use a calculator. 90 divided by 5 is 18. So we get 1/18. Okay? So we can divide by 2, 5, or 10 using these rules. All right, so pause the video and try these on your own. The next example or trick that we can use. If you can't divide by 2, 5, or 10, all right, another thing that you should do is check to see if the numerator is a factor of the denominator. Let's look at this example, 7 over 28. So if we skip count by the numerator, some of you may already know this in your head, so you don't have to go through these steps. But if you don't, let's skip count by 7. We'll just keep adding 7. So 7 is 7 plus 7 is 14, plus another 7 is 21, plus another 7 is 28. If you reach the denominator, 28, which we did, then we can divide both the numerator, we can divide both by the numerator here. So we're going to divide both by 7. We get 7 divided by 7 is 1. And 48 divided by 7 is 4 because it goes in 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Let's try this. So 6 is a factor of 30. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Good. So that means I can divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. And 30 divided by 6 is 5. It goes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And the same thing here. I can divide both by 4. And we get 1/7. Right? Pause it and try 9 over 27. Okay, hopefully you saw that it worked. You divide by 9 over 9 and you get 1/3. Great. All right. So if the numerator and denominator are not divisible by 2, they're not divisible by 5, they're not divisible by 10, right? The numerator is not a factor of the denominator. Then try 3. So 12 over 15. While knowing our multiplication facts, we know that we can divide both of those numbers by 3. They're evenly divisible. And we get 4/5. Great. All right, pause it and try this one. Okay, good job if you got 6/7. If you didn't, maybe you just multiplied wrong. Okay, and lastly, sometimes the fraction is already in simplest form and you can't do anything, all right? There's some easy ways to tell if it's already in simplest form. It's not always, you can't always have a rule, but these rules may help. So 1, if the numerator is 1, it's already simplified, okay? So if it's like 1/3 and 1 over 27. The second way, if the numerator and the denominator are both prime numbers, meaning they have no factors other than 1 in itself, like 5 and 7 or 3 and 11. Those are simplified. Or if the numerator is 1 less than the denominator. So for example, 5, 6, 12, 13. Another example might be 50 over 51 or 1,000 over 1,001. So those are in simplest form. So let's try this and see what we get. Okay, I'm going to show you the answers. Here we go. So let's start with the unit fractions. Numerator is 1, numerator is 1. So we know that those are already simplified. Here, the numerator is 1 less than the denominator, 10 and 11. And 3 and 4. So we know that those are simplified. And we have all of these prime numbers, 13 and 17, and 3 and 7. So those are already simplified. Okay, pause and try these. Which rule goes to which fraction? Okay, here are the answers. Good job. Okay, now let's put all of these rules together. Okay, feel free to rewind this video if you need to go back. So you want to see if it's divisible by 2, by 5, by 10, by 3, or if the 8 is a factor of the denominator, or if they may already be simplified. Okay, pause it and try them, and then unpause it to see your answers. Okay, and here are your answers. So in number 1, you could have divided by 8, and you get 1/2. Some of you may have not realized that, so you may have noticed they're even. You divided by 2, and you got 4/8. Then you thought, I can go even more. So I'm going to divide by 2 again and get 2/4. And then you notice they're still even, so you can divide by 2 again. So it doesn't matter how many steps it takes us to get there, as long as we get there. Number 2 is 3/8. Number 6 is 3/10. And number 4 is 9/10. All right, number 5 and 6 were already simplified. Here we have the rule, 7, 8. They're only one number apart. And number 6 is a unit fraction because the numerator is 1, so it's already simplified. All right, great job. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.